Nice to meet you, James, and welcome to our Small Talks series. Will you come with your exotico tour set list, or you'll come with some kind of best of set list for our gig, your first gig here in Sofia?
Yeah, I think we'll play. We're going to play a lot from Sun Structures, our first record, because of it being an anniversary. But also we'll be playing a mixture of songs from Exotico, probably Hot Motion, and maybe something from Volcano as well. So we'll try and play as many songs as we can.
Let me take you back to the giving birth of temples. Can you describe us the music situation when you start the band? I want to understand what was the environment around you when you have to present your music ideas for the first time.
Well, I think because we're from a small town, there wasn't a big music scene. There was the only real place to go at the weekend was one pub called the Prince of Wales, and they didn't even really have bands on. So it's, in a way, we didn't really have an environment where we were inspired to make music because there wasn't really any live music. So when we started recording the songs, we never really thought about it being played like live. We just wanted to create music that we enjoyed. And then we uploaded a few songs on YouTube, and we got offered our first gig at Green Man Festival in Wales, and we didn't even have a band. It was just Tom and me, so we had to find the rest of the band and learn how to play the songs live. So for us, the songs came out of really being into a lot of old psychedelic records and trying to make a new version of that, almost like to make music that is lost in time, almost it could have been from the 60s, but it's not, and that was kind of it was a recording project, really. I mean, look at the room I'm in now. It's this is historic guitar amps and things like that, trying to make things sound like the golden era of recordings, really.
Yes, I understand you, but did this situation you work in a music vacuum because of the small town and so on, and you didn't crash into the fashion of music, into the fashion of music business, just like that? Did it make it easier for you, or maybe it was harder for you because you are apart from the reality?
I think for me it was easier because we didn't feel a part of any music scene. So for us, there wasn't really any competition, and we didn't think about trends. We weren't you look at music now, and there's quite a lot of people talking over music or shouting over music, and that's very fashionable. And I guess we never really wanted to be compared to anybody, even though people make their comparisons. If anyone says, "Oh, Temple's first album sounds like this," it will probably be a band from the 60s, not a band from 2014.
You started when the commercial success had already become a leading factor in judging a band as popular. But now the situation is even harder. What gives you this freedom to do the music you want and feel to do.
Yeah, that's true. But I think, you know, the best thing to do is to look to like someone like David Bowie for quotes about this sort of thing, which is you have to not, you can't think about that. You have to just create what you want to create. And otherwise you just sit there and try and make a Taylor Swift record, you know. But there's, you know, we're fortunate in some ways because our music sounds like temples.
Yes.
You know, we have people, you know, like people that are working on movies will use our music, which really helps us. And it's also incredibly humbling that people want to use our music on films. But things like, I think because we work with, or we've always worked with independent record labels, that is kind of, that helps because they respect what you do artistically. And of course you need singles, you know, you can't just do out there art, you know, it doesn't work. You obviously you have to have songs that are destined for the radio, but that's also not that's a part of our that's in our blood as well, because we have such a great history in Britain of great pop music, you know, especially when we're talking about the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, you know, even the 50s. But like, you know, in a way, as a songwriter, there's something really appealing about trying to condense your artistic ideas into 3.5 minutes, because you become you just become a little bit more focused on which parts of the song are relevant here, you know. And it's no different to like any good book or any good poem. There's been an editing of it, you know. So any great poem, you know, Shakespeare would have edited his own work. He wouldn't have put all of his ideas in one script. And I think that's how we approach music as well. And sometimes you can do 6 minutes. And then sometimes if your record label says this one could be a single, but it's too long, then we get creative with how we can pull out anything that shouldn't be there, you know. And that's the only time where you feel like you compromise, but you end up having something actually better than what you had, you know. And a good example of this is a song like Paraphernalia, which is pretty short as a single, but it's got lots of ideas in it. And there was a few different versions of this song, and the one that went out was the right one, you know.
2 times in 10-15 minutes you said our music sounds like temples. I think the same, but some specific character or other quality is necessary to build a band with its own style, just like temples. What do you need to build such a band?
It's very hard to say, but I think you just have to but number one, there is not a right way of doing anything with music. There's no such thing as the right way, like the correct way. The correct way is what I mean. But there is a way of doing it that has character or something, you know. If I plug a guitar into one of these old mixing units, an engineer would say to me, "You're not meant to do that." But the rules, you need to not follow the rules of how to make a record, I think. Sometimes you have to follow rules of having a 3.5 minute radio, you know, edit. But within that 3.5 minutes, you have lots of decisions that have been made in the songwriting process and in producing our own music, that it has your identity stamped into it, is what I'm trying to say, you know.
Yes.
And there's too many books on how to record or how to write songs. And I think it's good to know a little bit of that, but it's also good to be naive with it and just go with your instinct.
Temple's music universe is so colorful and different and emotional. And if you let me use this metaphor, what's the most important planet or star for your universe that makes your universe the way it is?
It's hard to say one thing, but for me, I think it's about atmosphere, like having an atmosphere to your records, and I think that's the one thing that we try and have in every song is there should be an atmosphere around that song. And like you said about like having something that feels cinematic and feels colorful, I'm so glad that you feel like that, because when I'm writing, I'm kind of imagining what the music video could be. Sadly, we never have the budget to do a Tarantino style video, which would be lovely to be shot on Panavision 35mm analog film, but we're waiting for a day when, maybe a director says, I want to do a video for you. That would be great. But yeah, we're very visual people, and you can be visual with sound. And I think we've always been doing that, like since day one, like trying to create images with sound,
Where do you find inspiration to create the atmosphere of your music? In nature, or I don't know, in the city noise? I don't know. Do you find inspiration in something that can be explained?
I don't know. Some like lyrics, yeah, lyrics definitely feel inspired by certain things, like so. Like I don't know. Let's think of a good example. Off the last record, like Exotico, the title track off Exotico, like the lyrics there are like very much the story didn't happen, but it's a fictional little story. Same as Fading Actor is like about an actor who's he's past it, he's not working anymore, and it's that reflective thing. So you can find inspiration with lyrics about situations, but for the music, that there is never ever like one thing that inspires the music. If anything, the note you've just played on the guitar or keyboard inspires the next note. It's as simple as that. Like it's more like a pointillism with painting, It's more like painting. You have a brush stroke, and without putting that brush stroke down, you wouldn't know where the next one goes.
Okay, yeah. But listening to your music and watching your live performances, I wonder whether you feel like analog person locked in a digital prison.
Sometimes, but I think the way I see it, like with music making, it's like hybrid is the best way. Like, if I'm pointing, they can't see this on your podcast, but that is an analog guitar. This is analog. That over there, that's analog. But then this here is digital, and that has the sound of, the song Stranger Be Forgotten or Certainty, or like that does that thing. So for me, I think digital pace of life with social media and stuff, yes, that's incredibly exhausting. But there is benefits of digital, like this here, that's digital, but it's but it sounds analog, you know. So
Yes.
it's yeah. I think we would love to just record analog, but you just can't. You can't rely on it. It's and you need to have a lot of money to be able to maintain fully analog lives.
Yes, like Arctic Monkeys.
Exactly, and they go and tour with, you know, vintage organs, which
Yes.
cost them probably £2,000, £3,000 to service, you know. But we can't do that, so we have to run, you know. Adam's keyboards are like his laptop with a controller, you know.
Yes, but you can do it now. Maybe one day.
Maybe one day, but I think digital is good. You know, it as long as it sounds analog, that's cool.
That's cool. Okay, and we talk about this digital and analog schizophrenia that we lived in, and all the fast food, fast music, fast consuming things, and in these days, bands like Oasis and the 𝐋𝐢𝐜𝐚𝐿, do you see any new direction in British music in these things? Do you see some nostalgia that can give a new direction to the music, or this is just business?
I think music has always been, you know, it's always about nostalgia, you know, but there's nothing wrong with that. That's good. But we need, you know, not to quote Dua Lipa, but we do need future nostalgia, you know, like, you know, people will be nostalgic about our first album, you know, but like I'm nostalgic about, you know, the last David Bowie album, even though that's not that old, you know. But essentially, there needs to be more progression in music, but it all comes down to there's not really much money in music for people to make a career out of it, you know, especially these days. And that's because touring is hard, and Spotify and Apple Music, they just don't pay people enough money that, you know, at our level even, you know. So this is where the nostalgia thing is very easy, because people know that they can sell 100,000 tickets for Oasis in 1 hour, because people are going, oh, I remember Oasis. That's when rock music was good, you know, and so therefore they can do that. And quite rightly, Oasis, brilliant band, and you know we love Oasis. And we grew up listening to them. We were like teenagers, early teenagers, actually probably younger than that, like probably about 9 years old when Oasis were about. But we're nostalgic of that because we heard it when we were 16 and we were already too late. This could be a whole podcast talking about where the future of bands are, you know. But as long as we have people like Queens of the Stone Age and, you know, Arctic Monkeys and the bands still playing, that are current bands, you know,
yes,
then that's good, you know, as long as they take people like us on tour, not who the record label just gives to them, you know.
To focus on your last album, 𝐋𝐢𝐜𝐚𝐿, it's a tremendous record. I really like it. I like it. All your records, they have these stamp tempos on them, but this last album is it sounds to me a little bit different, maybe because of these exotic motives that I hear in it, and I'm so interested. When and how do you inspire from these exotic motifs to use them for your music? For example, this Oriental one in Cicada.
Yeah, I mean, we all, as you know, writers as the band. You know, we all write, you know, the songs, and it's drawing from, you know, different influences of what you're listening to, and I think we've always had a bit of like an Eastern twist. You know, almost sounds a little bit world music, but you know, delivered in a very British way. But I think this record, it was important to have like visually very different areas of the island of 𝐋𝐢𝐜𝐚𝐿, and also the reason why it probably sounds a bit different is because this is the first time we've worked with a producer. So we worked with Sean Ono Lennon on this album, so it definitely opened up different areas of the songs that we probably wouldn't have done if we hadn't worked with him. So yeah.
Do you have plans? What will you do in the near future? What recording, touring, America? I don't know. US.
Yeah, we've been recording recently, and we have lots of new music that we're working on. So yeah, quite a lot of it done here, and then yeah, we'll just see. We're gonna do this 10-year anniversary, these shows, and then next year it's definitely new music. So it's all yeah, new record next year.
It sounds really great. Will it be inspired by something different?
Yeah, and I think yeah, you will, but it'll be it would be like the best Temples record you've heard. So it's simple, yeah.
Yes.
But we don't know what it is yet, but it's going to be good because the songs so far are really, let's just say that they're like, rhythmically, they're really fun. They're very fun rhythmically, and definitely like danceable.
Danceable. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So there's definitely some tropical rhythm in there. So yeah.
I'm impatient now. Thank you, and thank you for the time. It was really real pleasure. And I'll see you in Sofia. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Take care. Bye. See ya.